to give you a little background, he has over 20 years of experience in the BPO industry with a proven track record in managing profitable business across multiple verticals. He has strong experience with multiple facets in healthcare, which is very invaluable. The payer, the provider, the PBMs, intermediacies, and all the medical device manufacturers and distributors. And he leads the digital operations business unit for Provider Health Systems unit at Cognizant. He holds an executive certification in international management from the Garvin School of Management, Thunderbird University, Arizona, and a master's in computer applications and a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. So we're going to have a presentation, and we'll be out here in plenty of time for the awards session.
Thank you very much. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Anantha Pudukkottai, complicated name I guess that you may have heard. And from what I understand, I'm the guy standing between you and the award ceremony. So we'll try to still make this, an interactive and an interesting conversation. I'm here representing Cognizant, trying to explain what we have been doing from a business transformation standpoint, and one of the areas within healthcare. So we'll go through what we have done, what are the challenges, and the market shifts that are happening today in that industry, and what we have been able to do from a transformation perspective on that. Now, not sure how many of you really know about Cognizant. I'll keep it very brief. Cognizant is, obviously is one of the world's leading professional services organization. We are transforming our clients' businesses, operations, and technology model in this digital era. And we basically have three different layers of digital organization internally, called the digital business, digital operations, digital systems and technologies. What gives us a kick, for all of us at Cognizant, is really to meet and exceed the expectations of our customers across all verticals, right? Whomever we support and serve. But obviously, we are quite happy about the accolades as well that we get. So if you look at it, we are a Fortune, we are Fortune number 5, in the most admired companies in the latest list from Fortune. We were founded in 1994, so we're 25 years young, and we still, would keep up the same startup mentality, if you will, keeping ourselves nimble, trying to, go proactive, to our clients to resolve their needs. Very, briefly again, we are over 280,000 employees across 100+ delivery centers around the globe, and we also, have a revenue of over $16 billion. As of the public reporting last month. Moving on, as we heard about Cognizant, I'll go a little, deep into this now. The next step into it, which is into healthcare. From a healthcare perspective, Cognizant is not an opportunistic player. We have, made investments, intentional investments to grow the business organically and inorganically. And we are currently present across all facets of healthcare, right? All areas of healthcare. We actually work on the payer side, PBM side, provider side, laboratories, and medical tech organizations. Working with pharmaceutical organizations and government payers. So we work across all areas within healthcare. Why is that important? It actually gives us perspective from every other area as well. I'll take a small example. When we actually work with an insurance company, and we all know, right? You go to a doctor, doctor submits a claim, and then you get a call a month later saying, well, you still have to pay X dollars. Now, maybe the reason was, either you had to pay a copay or a claim got rejected by a payer, right? Now, you go to a payer insurance company, they would actually be able to tell all the, errors that are being done when a claim is actually being submitted from, the provider side. You go to the provider side, you see all the rightful things that you have to do to make sure that the payment comes in the rightful first time when the claim gets submitted. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. We have over 15,000 people whose life actually, their foot on the table is essentially working from a business processes standpoint on the payer insurance side, provider side, just as an example, right? So which means these people really share the best practices with each other, saying, hey, you got to really be keeping an eye on these type of hiccups and issues. So that you really are able to get your claims paid faster. And again, there's a good sharing that happens between these organizations. Just a small example of two of the areas. So we use that to the best of our interest to ensure we serve our clients appropriately. Right? Just some tidbits there. We currently actually serve one in two of every patient or every member in the U.S. Right? Or the population, 50% of the population is actually served by Cognizant, either by us touching them from a service standpoint, or they being present in our software applications, right? In the healthcare space. We actually serve 360,000 physicians in the US, and that's 1/3 of every physician that is served by Cognizant. Again, either through our systems or through our services. Again, I can go on and on, but you could really read through the detail. I'm not going to go through each line or each word there, but essentially we are present in almost all areas within healthcare, giving us that advantage. Now, I'm going to go a little further into healthcare, specifically into the revenue cycle space, right? Revenue cycle management space. This is one of the services that we offer to our provider clients, which would really be to the healthcare providers, health systems, medical device manufacturers, distributors. This is really a simple process of if you look at it from a definition standpoint for revenue cycle management services, it's a simple process of us really maximizing the collections for our clients, which is providers, health systems, medical device manufacturers, and so on, but at the optimal cost, which means utilizing the rightful processes and keeping the cost of those collections at the absolute lowest, right? That's really the pure definition from our RCM. But we all know, at least for those of us that are working in that industry, we know that's easier said than done. And it's never a easy process to actually ensure that you are collecting every single dime that you are legally allowed to, just because there are a lot of leakages in the system, right? And there are a lot of manual processes that actually hinder us from collecting that maximum dollar, or allow us that makes us actually spend much more than what we should really be spending, right? Now, what do we do at Cognizant? Again, just a credential for 30 seconds. We have experience in doing this revenue cycle management service for our providers, health systems, physicians, and medical device manufacturers for over 20 years. We actually have over 150 clients for whom we actually provide that service. Again, as probably I stated earlier, is we serve over 360,000 physicians. We have 5,000 plus people, that actually just do revenue cycle work for our clients. We provide very innovatively a flexible revenue model, which is a skin in the game, which means Cognizant really makes money only when we collect money for our for our providers and health systems. If you don't really collect the required money for them, we don't really make any money at all, right? So we have a very flexible pricing model in the industry. Now, what are the services that we provide? Again, I'm not going to go through every detail that's given on the slide. This will be made available for you as a reading material. But from a business process services standpoint, we do soup to nuts. In terms of starting with credentialing of a provider to the point of actually having a contact center for our patients to collect the dollars from the patients, insurance companies, manage denials, and so on. We actually own a clearinghouse. I talked a little bit earlier about how Cognizant has invested intentionally to grow organically and inorganically. About 4 to 5 years back, we actually acquired a company called TriZetto. And TriZetto actually has multiple products and services that they were providing to the healthcare industry. And through TriZetto's acquisition, we really have gained a lot of expertise, both in the services area and the product side. One of the key benefits on the provider market, healthcare market, is that we currently own a clearinghouse. We are one of the largest clearinghouse providers in the US, in the healthcare space, right? And so we do provide, again, end-to-end clearinghouse services as well. We do analytics, from a revenue cycle management standpoint. We provide intelligent dashboards. We actually do predictive and descriptive analytics. We'll talk about that in a moment as we move forward. And then we also do what we call as a contract management analytics. So I spoke about a very simple business example of submitting a claim and a claim gets paid. When a claim gets paid, many of the physicians and health systems today don't have the wherewithal, the manpower. Humanly, it's improbable to take up all of those transactions and really be able to check whether they got paid accurately. If a payment gets through for that particular claim, they say thank you very much and they close the claim. But we have been able to develop technology by which from a back-end perspective, when a claim comes through, we are able to validate and check. We are able to validate and check whether we got paid appropriately for that particular claim. And we are able to do that for millions of transactions that we actually handle. So we do RCM analytics across all of these. We also do consulting to identify gaps, and the gaps could really result in point solutions or end-to-end transformation for our clients' business operations. So we do those services. One call out before we move on to the next slide would really be that in 2018, Everest actually did the first ever analysis of the market from a provider BPO standpoint, and we were actually rated in the leader quadrant, among just the couple that you see in the leader quadrant there. So we are very proud about how Everest actually did their first review and identified us rightfully as the leader in the provider BPO space. Moving on, we spoke a little bit about what Cognizant has as a potential in the revenue cycle space. I'm going to take a step a little further down, right? We're really going to look at what are the shifts that are happening in the industry from a RCM standpoint. If you really look at the shifts, which is in the bottom part of the slide that you see on the screen, there's an ongoing transition, that is taking place into the value-based, care. You would see that, there's about 32% of the providers that have gone into value-based care. So it's increasing on a monthly basis, right? We anticipate, obviously, that, majority of, the providers are really going to be in value-based reimbursement model shortly. Now, as they get into the value-based care, we all know that it adds up a lot of complexity. And with complexity comes, lower reimbursements. And that obviously puts a lot of pressure from an operating cost standpoint, for the health system or for the provider groups. So those, that's probably one of the key trend that is happening today, which we are seeing with our health system clients, our provider groups, medical device organizations, and so forth. We also see demographic changes. Again, this is not anything that is a surprise, but with demographic changes, where there is an increase in the population, the aging population, there is an expectation that we're going to have much higher healthcare claims. That again, unless you are really ready for it, you're essentially adding more manual effort, right? Human effort, putting more people into the task, which obviously is not the right solution. The last but not the least is we are seeing the market actually moving into looking at point solutions from an automation standpoint, analytics standpoint, and also looking at how can we ensure that our collection from a dollar perspective is maximized and is done at the quickest possible time. So these are few trends that we are seeing. The top portion of the slide really talks, and I'm not going to talk about all the four, but essentially, if you look at it, when a survey was actually done with the CEOs of hospitals, they basically said that the single biggest reason that they really, see as a challenge in the industry is the regulatory environment, right? The changing laws, the state payer laws that are changing. That's obviously a bigger, concern from a CEO's perspective to make sure that they are getting the rightful cash. We're also seeing an uptick where the CEOs, the COOs, of the operations are really turning to, outsourcing. They're saying, well, I really want to outsource it, not just because I cannot do it. Well, that's a secondary topic. But more importantly, I believe that I don't really have the solutions that are really needed to perform this core revenue cycle function. So we're seeing that, as a trend, that is happening in the market. Now, taking just one, step further, when we talk about challenges, I referenced about, challenges, at least twice or thrice now. What is being seen from a collection perspective? What do we really see as a challenge? So if you look at, suboptimal collections that are happening, meaning they are not collecting the allowed legal dollars, for a health system or for the provider group, or for the medical device manufacturers as an example. The single most highest reason that I would call as a contributor to it is because of the sluggish claim processes that are in place. So if you go to our operations that are being managed by some of our prospects and clients that we've discussed with, they really find it very difficult to stay current with their payer requirements. They find it very difficult to monitor their whole claim process. And the solution to many of these problems, as they see through these, are just adding more people. And they are seeing that it is no longer viable for them to just put more and more people into the job, and seeing that their operating cost is going up, and resulting not in a profitable environment for them, right? And is there a solution for that in the market? Absolutely. There is a significant solution that we have been able to create, and we believe as a leader in the revenue cycle space, that we have been in the front end working with our clients, working with our payers to determine what would be the solution for those. I'm not going to speak of all the 5 there, but I'll just pick 2 of them. One, if you look at the underpayment and denial management, the denial management, just as an example, when a claim is actually submitted and you see a denial come through, for whatever reason, what really happens is, again, a human being in a traditional environment, what I call as a RCM 1.0, was again, put more people, let those people figure out what is the reason for denial, and then just have them work again. And another denial comes through, put more people further, and then figure out how we can resolve the problem. Yeah, that could happen, but again, you're adding a lot of inefficient steps in the whole process. And the solution to that is really from a technology perspective. We have developed predictive models. We have developed predictive analytics models where before even actually a claim is submitted, based on the past data, our model actually comes out with a sample of claims that would get denied if another pair of eyes don't look at those claims. So we make sure that we pull out every single day before the claim actually gets submitted to the payers, a list of claims that actually is being quality audited by one more pair of eyes that would ensure that those errors that we believe would be there in those claims are corrected before they are submitted. So that eliminates a denial, and that obviously accelerates the cash that you could get, right? Just as one example. The other one, most important, that many of our clients really see as a challenge today is recognizing the trend. The other points that you see there are really just point solutions, but recognizing trend is across the whole operations, right? They're seeing, hey, denial is coming through, I'm getting underpaid, I'm actually seeing a low first pass claim, I'm seeing more edits come through. So there are a variety of things that could be happening, but if in a holistic way, we are not looking at the trends that are happening in the operations, then we are missing the whole game. So we really, have our, in-house proprietary tools that we have developed, which provides intelligent dashboards. Most of, the EMRs, practice management systems today, provide basic reporting. They don't provide, intelligent dashboards. So we actually do that, right? So we spoke about the challenges. So what does really Cognizant do? And I also said, few, tidbits that I shared in terms of what Cognizant does. But in a broad sense, what are all the levers does Cognizant really bring to solve, customers' problem? If you broadly categorize the problems that the customers are facing, you can bucket them into, 3 or 4 categories. It could, obviously either be, hey, maximize the revenue, which is revenue realization, optimize my cost, make sure that the cost is absolutely lower, or give me scalability, opportunity, so I want to scale and make it big. 4th, I want to grow, right? I really want to kind of acquire more providers, physician groups, hospitals. So how could you as a provider be able to support me? So these are essentially the 4 key goals from a client standpoint. If you look at the value levers, there are a variety of value levers that Cognizant has been able to implement, including again doing value stream mapping upfront, identifying lean processes that we can pick up, predictive analytics, descriptive analytics. Each of them are individual intellectual property tools that Cognizant has developed. And through those, along with a multi-governance approach, a predictable, reliable, and a repeatable, agile operating model, we have been able to bring outcomes that you see on the other side, which is really reducing the total cost of ownership for our provider clients by a decent 40 to 50%. And obviously, each client is a little different, so sometimes we have been able to do even better than that. But sometimes, it's around the 40% range. So the range is around 40 to 50 or 40 to 60%. Now, the improvement in their collection rate, has really again been 5 to 20% that we have been able to improve. So if their DSO today is at 70 days, we have been able to take them back down to 50 days as an example, right? Reduction in the AR aging, again 10 to 12% that we have seen in the market. And the collection improvement, which is the most important point, on this slide as well, is this actually talks about incremental cash that we have been able to bring to our clients, right? That the money that they have not seen earlier, and we have been able to show that 2 to 5% can really be brought in from by using the rightful tools for collections. So as we speak about all of those, right, those are pretty neat. But what does Cognizant really say when we talk about RCM 3.0? Right, those are levers that we use, those are outcomes that we come out with. But how do we really look at the RCM industry in total? So as I referenced a little earlier, RCM 1.0 is a scenario where we actually had solution was only putting in more people, right? Throw in people for a problem, try to resolve, and if the problem doesn't get resolved, throw in more people. Now, RCM 2.0 was putting in people, but also identifying small buckets of areas that we could really automate or bring in some tools that you can do as a point solution. But RCM 3.0 is basically a reimagined version from a value stream point of view from Cognizant, where we really look at this in a completely different lens, right? We actually look at every single step of the process that we look in RCM and determine whether that process really can be automated in full. Can that really take advantage of the intellectual properties that we have been able to develop from an analytics standpoint, or payment propensity perspective, or contract management analytics standpoint, and so on. So I would really call RCM 3.0 as essentially an automation and analytics-led operations. Right? That's really how we actually look at RCM 3.0 today. So if you take a look at this slide, the circle really shows the various functions that are part of the revenue cycle management function, and each of those really you would see a pointer where either we are looking at automating that particular process in full, or performing a partial automation and also bringing in point solutions that would actually reduce human interventions. So by doing that, in many of our clients, even the existing ones as well, what we believe the market could do, is we have been able to cut down the staffing needs for doing this revenue cycle business by a decent 35 to 40%. So if somebody is really doing a work with, let's assume, 200 people to do an RCM shop, we believe that over a period of time, we may be able to drop the 200 to a pretty decent 130, 140 people shop to perform the functions. That obviously optimizes a significant portion of cost, but with a commitment from Cognizant on the outcomes to collect more. So last but not the least, just delving a little deeper. So when we look at the functions at a broad level in terms of from the time an order comes in for, let's say, a medical device, or a charge entry that comes in from a health system when a patient actually visits, to the point of actually posting the cash, what are the typical interventions that can be brought in, right? What are the analytics, predictive and descriptive, that we could really bring in? So you would really see that it's a 6-point step that we have called out in the slide, where at each step we are really able to perform either a process transformative activity, which is simple, again, predictive, reliable and repeatable operating model that we are able to implement in terms of managing their forecast, looking at what is the trend of the volume based on seasonality and stuff like that, and ensure that we have a skill-based geography used for delivering these services, to the point of really identifying collection propensity well ahead of even a claim is being submitted. And the third step that you see is a smart audit. This is basically a very interesting evolution that Cognizant has seen. I mean, Cognizant has made within this value chain. Is instead of really allowing let's say a quality auditor to go and pick up a sample of claims and perform quality audit on them, we actually have a tool that goes back historically within the last 1 week, identifies where have we seen more errors, and actually does pick up focused audits from those particular area. And this is being done systematically instead of human beings actually going and picking up certain claims. So we have been able to implement smart audits in our process. We have been able to bring in intelligent dashboard reporting and looking at predictive and retrospective denial management. Last but not the least, we have even been able to implement sentiment analytics for our contact center. This is a pretty interesting concept, done within the last 12 to 18 months, I would say, for our clients. So when we are in a contact center, when we are actually speaking with the payer, insurance person, or the patient, depending upon how the call goes, based on the the tone of the call, based on certain catchphrases, right? You know, you can determine if the call is actually going in a very conducive manner, or you know, is the call actually a little confrontational and heated up. And that actually is done on a real-time basis, where our auditors and team leaders are able to jump into the call right away. When call centers are taking the calls, we are able to identify, hey, here is call number X that you probably need to jump in, and then the quality auditor or a team leader is able to jump into the call and address the situation, instead of just allowing for more conversations and conflicts and contacts with our patients and providers. So again, this is what we call as a sentiment analytics, as the spelling shows. So these are all the stuff that we have been able to do to, again, maximize the collections in our revenue cycle space for all our clients. This is a case study that we did in the last minute that I will take, which is just as an example, we picked up a DME medical device manufacturer company. We picked up this client about a couple of years back, and one of the few key challenges that the client actually faced again was the slow collection rate. They were actually collecting the money, they were actually getting to about, if I remember right, they were at 82% reimbursement rate, but they were collecting in like 70 days average DSO, and so that was the biggest challenge from a collection rate perspective. They actually had high payment volumes because they were getting denials. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have the manpower to put resources here in the US. And then lack of integration. They had multiple systems. None of these systems were talking to each other. So there wasn't really a cohesive environment for operations to run smoothly. So we brought in our solutions where we redesigned. We did a value stream mapping. That was our first step. As like what we do in all our business transformation functions, we performed a value stream mapping. We identified things that we could do, which is we determined that this client would actually need an intelligent dashboard, because the leaders at running the operations at the client side did not have a clue how the operations was being managed. This client needed a predictive analytics model to determine why the claims were getting denied, and through that model we were able to determine who are the key members that were causing the errors and why. Which means we were able to take some feedback back to them and say, hey, if it's Susan that's sitting and doing these 3 errors, we go back and give that required training to Susan, because Susan may not even know that she was doing an error, or John Doe sitting and doing the work would not even know that they were causing problems in a slow collection rate. And we were able to automate many of the processes as well by claim status checking with the payer and so on. And we implemented a workforce management tool that enabled us to ensure that we're utilizing our team members appropriately. So by doing all of this, the outcomes that we were able to do is phenomenal. We actually were able to collect $8.82 million of incremental cash for the year, just for 1 year, to our client. So this was a client that actually made about $190 million per year as a collection. We were able to bring in $8 million on that. That's pretty close to 5% number. Obviously, they were quite impressed and happy about it. We were able to increase the productivity through our workforce management tools. We were able to reduce the cost because we were able to automate certain functions. We were able to reduce the cost by about $1 million, and we reduced our DSO from a not so or should I say suboptimal 70 days DSO to about 38 days by end of 12 months. So significant improvements were done. I'll stop here and look for any questions if you have.
If anybody wants, you can come and talk now. I'm going to end it so everyone can go to the awards ceremony that everybody's waiting for. But please feel free to come speak one-on-one, and look forward to seeing you at the awards session.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.